The following podcast is a production focused on storytelling, exploring new TTRPG systems and their supplements. This podcast is not sponsored by any of the systems or their owners, and is meant to be a fun, interactive book club. Respective credits for songs, sound effects, and resources are listed within the description or details. And with that, please enjoy, adventurer. Welcome to the Tables and Fables podcast, the interactive TTRPG book club where we pick up new mechanics, bumble through systems, and ultimately tell fun stories together. I'm your DM, GM, and street rat, Tim. Joining me are my two co-hosts. Please introduce yourselves.
Oh, it's even better this second time. I mean, what? This is Collin.
And this is Amanda.
Breaking the illusion already. Okay, great. So, this is in some way a continuation from the Amalgamation and the Quiet Year. I mean, I shouldn't say some way, it is. You definitely should check out Session 0 at least. If you're not really feeling it, I'd recommend it because we do set up a lot of things like our Scoundrels, our crew, and a little bit more of what we're going to be doing here in the Blades in the Dark. Just as another setup, Blades in Dark, if you are not familiar with it, is a tabletop RPG role-playing game by John Harper, published by Evil Hat Productions, using the Forged in the Dark system, which is all via dice pools and D6s usually, and clocks and other methods. As we've also said in the Session 0, we are not going to be playing in the actual setting that isn't Blades in the Dark. We're doing our own little homebrew, which is going to be taking place in a city called Saltvein in the country of Malavia. So another reason to go back to Amalgamation and the other setups. But yeah, how are people feeling for getting ready for Blades in the Dark?
I'm kind of excited to see how this goes. I'm kind of interested to see how we kind of sneak around and do our own crew deal here. I'm really interested. I'm excited.
I'm very interested in the world we were able to make in the Quiet Year. I'll be interested to see how it comes to life. The system itself is very different from anything else I've tried before, so I'm excited to bumble through it a little bit.
All right. With that all being said, I do ask for patience from you, listener, and patience from you players as we go through this, because it is a brand new system. I've familiarized myself as much as I can, but there's going to be some moments where I'm going to bumble. That's why it's in the tagline, right? So, yeah, so with that being said, I think we can go ahead and set it up here of zooming in, panning down cameras and all that. I'm going to start with a little bit of a narration here. My name is Poe Blackreed. I run a rather modest business, a pub known as the Hatchery out of the dock borough Saltvein, known as Shellview. I've done my best to keep the place in working order, ensuring the patrons are able to get what they need in a city like this. Of course, oftentimes, some items require a bit more help to acquire than most. That's why my dear old dad established this place about 200 years ago, to allow those with certain skills to earn a modest living, to distribute items of certain illegal nature. To be fair though, this place isn't out to hurt anyone, really as much as we can. Far from it, we're just here to provide a service to escape the fangs, the blood and the salt of this town. I mean, what's a little bit of gold between friends in order to get from day to day, eh? In any case, this particular new job, though I do try to keep the scores relatively inconspicuous, this next one is almost a certainty about it. A certainty that things are about to change in Saltvein. For the better, though, well, I suppose it depends on the right people with the right job. We arrive into the dock areas of Shellview, kind of panning down into a modestly lit-sized tavern on the docks. There's a sign that shows an image of 3 eggs upon a hexagonal dark piece of sea-soaked wood, and underneath hangs a simple wooden sign that reads, "The Hatchery." As we kind of journey inside of the tavern, the smell of sulfur, fish, and salt is muted from outside, but still hangs about in the air. Only now it's accentuated by the pungent odor of low-quality ale and wines. Looking around this tavern, there are only a few round tables with several chairs stacked up against the wall. Though this would be a normal time for most patrons to arrive and imbibe after a long day, it is, strangely, quite empty, save for the bartender. You see a rather gangly-looking half-elf, pale in complexion with long, almost oily black hair cascading and forming a mild veil to overshadow a majority of his face. He seems to be preoccupied with prying up an old rusted nail in the top part of the bar. The door opens and a bell rings on top, and he looks up from his task and gives a small nod, seeing the first person enter. And who would like to enter into the hatchery first?
I will go ahead and enter. You just see the cloak with the hood pulled up as you see the character Wicker enter in, and he nods to Poe, and he doesn't say much. He just walks in, kind of keeps his head down a little bit, nods to him as he always does.
Wicker, so you're just kind of directly cloaked. You're just in a giant cloak, right? There's nothing really distinguishing about the cloak. It's just kind of a dark.
It's nothing fancy. It's nothing shiny. It's just a cloak with a hood. Normally tends to keep it up, kind of charcoal black, maybe dirty, a little muddy, maybe even a little frayed around the big cuffs that he has. Always seems to wear it with the hood up. So he's a quiet individual, unless he's around his crew or his friends. Always respectful. And he just kind of is a presence that's there.
You see Poe look to you and give you a nod. Just, hello there, Wicker. How are you this fine evening?
Poe, good to see you again. I'm doing well.
Good to see you as well. Just was curious if you seen your other compatriot about lately.
Not recently.
It's at that moment, Amanda, the bell rings above the door, and your character enters. Please describe your character.
In addition to the bell ring, you hear the thud as the wall kind of bounces as the door ricochets off of it. In walks this stocky dwarf with pale skin. He has slick-back, widow-peaked red hair with streaks of silver at his temples. His right eye has a large scar over it that glows like a kind of pale blue, and he has a single strip of kind of bluish paint across the bridge of his nose and across his forehead. You boys keeping it well tonight?
Ah, I found him. Hello, Brody.
Hello, Wicker. Been keeping busy?
Trying to.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, I would appreciate if you would keep busy around here. I mean, as he looks around, you see Poe kind of looking around the establishment, and from the emptiness of the establishment, you can gather he is indicating of the lack of business for the hatchery.
Right. Well, if you wanted a pretty barmaid, you should have just asked.
He chuckles at that before giving a wry smile. His eyes shift to the door behind the bar as he kind of goes back to his task of trying to prying up the old nail, trying very hard to just do so. He looks to you both and says, there's a few tasks on hand of acquiring, but the thing is, the Red Crests have been coming in here to really shake up the establishment a bit. And both of you would know that the Red Crests are the militia for Saltvein. They're kind of the police force. They're not exactly corrupt, but they're not exactly, treading the line of morality either. So you do know that occasionally they would stop into various respective businesses in Shellview or other lesser rich boroughs to kind of shake them down. And given the size of your gang, it's fairly common that they would come into lower reputable places and just shake it down. Thing is, we need to start getting some yoke. If we don't start getting some yoke, then we're kind of out on a paddle,
Wicker, a man of Wicker's a man of few words, and he just nods his head.
Do you have any particular jobs in mind?
Well, he nods back to the back door again. there's somebody here that has a proposal. I have a few odd jobs under the bar here, but you might want to hear what they have to say first.
All right, I think we should hear them out.
Aye. He kind of looks around the bar. Do we see this person offering somewhere in the vicinity?
No. So you get the sense that Poe is nodding back to the door behind the bar as to indicate that most likely the individual that has the job offer is off in the back room.
So be it. Wicker begins to head that direction to go and see who's offering the job.
Brody, I'm assuming you're following suit.
Yes, he gives a slight salute and then follows Wicker, rather.
Wicker, you open the door and you see seated at kind of a low-lit table is a massive frame of an individual. You see as they look up at you that their face is wrinkled and haggard, almost to the point where it looks almost like chewed gum. They've got one eye that is almost permanently closed, and the other is showing signs of milky cataracts developing. And as they stand up, you see this person stands almost a good foot taller than yourself, Wicker. They're this big, burly person of a woman, you notice, with these big, bushy pigtails that go down off the sides of their face. And I don't know if you saw the picture that I show players. So you recognize
Yes,
this
I do.
You recognize this as Vivian Piper, the leader of the Bottom Feeders. So she looks to you and she kind of cracks her neck and then just goes,
Well, lads, I was wondering if you had a moment or two to talk to me about a job I've got.
Vivian, gorgeous as always.
Brody, speaking out of your ass as always.
Too right you are.
Vivian, good to see you as always.
Wicker.
she gives a nod.
So, thing is, I was wondering if you might be able to help me with an issue. My boat, the Shiver, has been impounded by the Red Crests. One of my boys got caught scuttling a smaller boat that apparently had more notoriety to it than we thought, and now they're going to be conducting an extensive search of the boat for contraband. Now, we've got some good areas to hide most of the stuff, but the thing is that there's still some areas that if they do more of a thorough search, they're going to find a few things that they're not going to want to see in the hands of the common folk, if you catch my meaning. So, the thing is I can't have my boys or myself handle getting this stuff off the boat. And I was wondering if maybe people at the hatchery were able to kind of get the stuff off of there.
So, to clarify, you don't want the Shiver, you want its cargo?
I want the stuff that's in the Shiver.
A retrieval mission.
Right. They're watching me like a hawk. I can't go in there, neither can my boys. So if I go in there and my boys step foot, they're gonna know that we took something off it. But if something was to go missing, then of course, hey, we wouldn't know anything about it, right?
Right.
So that's the proposal. You think you can handle that, or?
Well, it depends, Vivian. What kind of heat do we have on the situation? Are they rotating guards, left alone?
Well, it's a standard patrol, I would imagine. They've got a few guards on the boat and a few around the docks watching it, but other than that, not much else that I can tell you.
And what kind of package is it contained in? A cage, a chest?
So, the particular object that you're going to be looking for is going to be located in the captain's quarters. It's going to be hidden in my desk. There's a compartment in one of the drawers. You just need to make sure that you get that open and just get it out. If it has to look rough, whatever, doesn't matter to me. The thing is, I just cannot have my boys or my ship being caught with that on board.
You keep saying it, that. Could you be a little bit more descriptive?
No.
I see.
So we don't know what size it is.
It's small enough to be in a drawer.
Apparently. But, what is it worth to you to get this item back?
I could give you several yoke for it.
So the job that you would be given here is that you would get the equivalent of what is 4 coin. Yoke is the colloquial term that I am using for coin, considering that the egg. So we're calling all gold yoke. So, but that's what you're getting.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, above table. So, right now we're rocking one coin, or no coin, I believe.
You have no coin.
Yeah, because we
You
paid.
have-
So, going from 0 to 4, that's a big financial investment, right?
The way it works then, because so some of this is going to be breaking this down for not only yourselves, myself, but also the listeners. So the way that coin works is that coin is kind of representative of certain types of wealth. So 2 coin doesn't necessarily mean, 2 coins to rub together, right? What it means, and let me get the thing here. So the equivalent is this, is that 2 coin, or yolk as we're doing it, is basically a minor job, which is several full purses of gold, basically. 4 coin is a small job, which is usually something like a strong box. 6 coin is a standard score, decent loot. 8 coin, a big score, serious loot. And 10 plus coin is a major score, impressive loot. And she is willing to offer to give you 4 coin to get this object back.
That's pretty decent for us. Anything right now would be something. Can't help but wonder, this item, is it dangerous?
It's dangerous to some, I would say.
More to the point, are we going to have any issues transporting the item, handling it?
It'll be in a box. So long as you don't open the box, you'll be fine.
Oh, you shouldn't have said that, Brody.
What?
Oh, you want to open every box.
Only when it pertains to not job-specific items, but if we are asked for discretion, I'll be discreet. And he kind of looks at Wicker, raising his eyebrows.
He was playfully teasing him.
Right, well that settles then. How fast do you need this item? How long's it been impound?
The shiver's been impounded for at least a day. The thing is that the Red Crests, especially the people who are going to be investigating it, they're not going to really know exactly where to look for my object that I'm hiding. They don't know all the places that I hide them, but the thing is after a certain point, considering the ship that we did scuttle, they're going to want to try and find this thing quick. So I'd say maybe another day is at the most that we've got. So I'm not saying it has to be done now, but if you don't do it by, I don't know, end of day tomorrow or something like that, then I'm not going to be looking too hot, I should tell you that.
Right, and the rendezvous point once we do pick up the package?
Yeah, so the thing is that you're going to want to be going down into the veins. There's a person that'll pick it up for you. A kid. They're going to be hanging about off the canals in the veins. You'll know them because they're going to be wearing a particular feather in their hat. Distinctive blue feather.
And they'll have the payment upon delivery?
They'll have the payment. You have any other questions at all, or?
It sounds simple enough.
If it was simple, I'd probably have some other gang do it, but I know that you've done your duty. You've paid me some respect. You've paid me off a few times to make sure that I let you work and to do your respective jobs, but from what I understand is that you're not as popular. There's not much notoriety around you, so potentially you could do this job easy enough.
And that's kind enough of you. In, above table, how many times have Wicker and Brody dealt with her specifically?
Sure. So directly you haven't really dealt with Vivian as much. You've worked with the bottom feeders because, again, you've paid that coin to give you room to work for your own job. And the thing is that the way it works is that you're at a current status of, I believe, a +1, which basically means that they'll leave you alone. You're not friends, but you're not enemies either. So basically you leave each other to respective work. So the thing is that if you ask them for help, they'll help you out, but they expect in kind, is that when they ask you for help, you probably should help.
Sounds good. You'll notice that so Wicker is normally a quiet individual, and when he's listening, he's not making eye contact with somebody, with them when they're talking. He's just rather, it looks like he's passively listening, as if he's listening to maybe multiple people talking, but he's just kind of sitting there listening patiently, just waiting until we're good to go, as he's just kind of there quietly.
We haven't established how long have these two worked together.
Wicker and
Brody, yeah.
Brody?
Mm-hmm.
So the gang, the way this works is it also, your gang doesn't really have a name. I've just kind of called it the Hatchery because you're operating out of the Hatchery right now. So we're just kind of kissing with the Hatchery. But the thing is that the gang is not huge. You're at a tier 0, which basically usually means 0 to 2 people, which is basically you guys. The Poe Blackreed is kind of not your handler, but he basically allows you to operate out of the Hatchery because he knows the business is good because that's what his father established. So I guess it really depends on kind of like how long you've known each other, but you can know each other for as long as you please. It's just you have been working in this gang out of the Hatchery for a while. It's kind of established already.
Okay.
I would say that's where I would have met Brody.
Okay. I mean, that sounds fair. I was just curious. Right.
I think then, is there anything else we would need to ask? I think because we've got pretty much our direction. Wicker just decides to. Is there a catch?
A catch.
Anything particular we'll have to keep our eyes open for, or over-aggressive guard?
I mean, they're red crests, right? They do what they are, which they're vamps, right? So you would know this is that red crests are basically, again, they're the militia, but a majority of them are vampires. The reason they're called red crests is because it was kind of a little thing that they did little quirk, where when they would subdue certain people, they would bite their necks, causing blood to pool down across their chest. So it kind of became an emblem of just kind of their cloaks are deep black duster coats, but they have red collars and a red like V shape going down across their chest. So that's why they're called red crests.
Got it.
Well, if Wicker doesn't have any more questions, I'm satisfied.
Wicker shakes his head and saying no, that he doesn't.
Yeah, she gives the pair of you a nod and begins to shift out of the room. She's a big woman, so as she's kind of moving past you, she's just kind of like, this is a small back room, so she's just moving past you, just pushing you to the side. As she opens the door, it just leans down so she can get out, and then starts heading out. Poe Blackreed gives her a nod before she heads out the main door. So the way this works for Blades in the Dark is that when you are doing a score, is that you are deciding on the plan and the detail of the plan. So the plan is you're deciding what approach you are taking, which involves things like, so I'm going to go down to my little cheat sheet to make sure I'm doing this right. There are several options of the plan. So you've got assault, which is do violence to a target, deception, which is lure, trick, or manipulate, stealth, which is trespass unseen, occult, which is engage in a supernatural power, social, which is negotiate, bargain, or persuade, or transport, carry cargo or people through danger. The detail is basically where you're figuring out what you want to do out of the plan. So you guys have those options to figure out what you would like to do for your plan. So you first have to give me the plan of how you want to approach this. Do you want to assault? Do you want to try to deceive your way onto the boat? Do you want to stealth? Like, it's up to you.
Is Vivian still in the room?
No, Vivian's left.
Okay.
If you wanna go back to ask more questions, we can certainly just cut back to that.
It's okay.
So
when it's Wicker and Brody, Wicker will noticeably interact more, as Wicker tends to, he's quiet around pretty much everyone else, but Brody, he'll talk and address Brody and talk more often. As for what we're going to do, well, it sounds almost too simple. I wonder if there's something that maybe Miss Vivian had left out.
Most assuredly, you don't stir up the crest without something valuable. And dangerous to some people. Dangerous to the crest, maybe.
It's more cryptic than I am sometimes. I'm not feeling particularly spry at the moment, so I don't think going in swinging would be the best option.
Brody gives a bit of
he
a
kind
wry
of says,
smile.
yeah, he kind of says he's says that on purpose. Yeah.
You ruin all the fun, but I do believe discretion would be wise when dealing with them. Creepy fuckers. Seeing as they're vamps, cover a night not gonna do us much good, is it?
No, in fact, it might hinder. It's their preferred time of day, of course.
You would also know that Malavia has what's known as the Veil over it, which is something that the Baroness has basically had all of her wizards institute, which is basically a way of like
this lady.
cover. yeah. The Baroness basically, so she made it so that vamps can just live here, right? So it's not permanently dark, but it is permanently overcast. So in Malavia,
For any listeners who are kind of like, oh, is this that? Yeah, that's if you were listening to, I believe it was Amalgamation. This was the one who wanted to bring the never-ending whatever
night.
The never-ending night.
Baroness Elena Hildegard, I believe we called her, or I called her. So.
Yeah.
So just above table, what would we know about the vampires in this region, specifically those involved with the red crests? Are these shambling ghouls, articulate thralls?
Sure. So vampires in especially Malavia are part of kind of the nobility. So there's not really many that are just simply hungered or just, wild out and about, just like, I'm going to kill you. Most of them are just, they're completely, this is a status thing. It's not uncommon. So and that's the thing too, vampires aren't necessarily even evil either. There's just a majority of the nobility are vampires. There are some good vampires too. It's just a majority of them are in the nobility. There are a number of numerous rules that are in place to ensure the safety of those in the vampiric courts and in the mortal courts, because they don't want to do too much of, feeding upon the mortals, because it's still the populace, right? Like it's just more of a status symbol thing. But the prominent power is with the vampiric courts. So the fact that there's actually a militia, though, gives the sense that these are basically, it's nepotism, right? These are people that they are from royal families. They joined the Red Crests to basically, this is their job. This is what they enjoy, right? So they're not crazed vampires. They're just, they're powerful police, powerful nobility, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Only the cool kids get to be vampires.
Back to the options that we have here. I think stealth and social seems like it would be a good idea if we kind of want to sneak on and then kind of fall back to a plan B of negotiation or persuading with the social aspect. But what are you thinking on how we should approach this?
I think you're right. Smash and grab would be fun, but when dealing with a militia, probably not wise. Especially since we don't have that big of a reputation and we just got shook down. Oh, thank you.
I would say a cult, but I don't want to come out the gate with that, number one, because I mean, well, I guess that's the point of that's the point of bumbling, right? But
I think Brody would even ask, he's like, so you think you want to use your wee ghosties? And he kind of twiddles his fingers. Ooh.
Then Wicker listens as if he's listening to somebody else speaking, just checking. That's a possibility. As he's kind of, what would be the best way to describe this, Tim? He's what comes with the whisper class, if you will. I am kind of attuned to be able to compel nearby any ghosts that may be nearby, ghosts or spirits, as they need to be nearby. Mm-hmm. So when it looks like he's just kind of listening, just kind of passively listening, he's also listening to the area to see if there's anybody around, if that makes any sense.
Sure. So, are you trying to gather information for yourself right now from the ghosts?
Well,
because the reason I'm asking is that, so we're kind of
we're in the part right now where we're planning the score, right? We're setting up what details you want to take. So I just need to know, one, what your plan is going to be, and then the detail of that plan. So if you give me those two, then we can figure out from there. Because if you don't know the detail, you can always gather information. If you're like, if I want to do assault, like let's do assault, and we want to do this, then the detail, it's like, I don't know how we want to do assault, then you can gather information of how you want to do assault or something like that.
Right. I think we should. Vivian wasn't too specific with how many of the Red Crest are there. I think we should maybe scout a little bit. We have a day. It would help to know exactly how many are there.
Sounds fair. Do you know of anywhere we could get a higher vantage point in the area, like an inn or?
So this is the thing about Blades in the Dark. This is why it's trust me, I'm there with you, because it's like shifting your brain into like a completely different type of RPG system.
Mm-hmm.
You basically don't do a whole bunch of planning. The mechanics basically are based off of, you tell me the plan and the general detail, and we do things like flashbacks and other things that orchestrate like setting up, gathering information, or everything like that. Because then if we just hop into the action, we don't have to worry about spending 45 minutes to an hour like we're going to here, do this, like, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a little bit more streamlined. Did you want to just scout out the area, see how many people are there, and then formulate a plan?
It's the plan first. You don't
go first. You gotta. Okay.
You gotta tell me what kind of plan. You gotta tell me what kind of plan you're doing, and that determines everything. I know.
So backwards.
Trust me. But here's the thing. This is why it's beautiful and also strange at the same time. Trust me. Once we get into it, like the line says, play your characters like you're driving a stolen car. Like you don't worry too much about a whole bunch of planning right now. Okay. So I'll figure out like what approach you want to go.
I'll throw one out there. I can compel ghosts to. This might be a combination of deception and occult. I don't know if you can combine some of these things here, some of the points, methods of our plans, but using to compel spirits to either lure or scare a guard away from an area that we would need to sneak into, and then quietly getting onto the ship, grabbing what we need, and leaving.
So overall, I'm hearing potentially deception. Is that what I'm getting? So the method by which we do the deception would be the spookies, but we are ultimately doing a deception. Yes,
to try to get them away from an area, either by just like luring them or scaring them away. So it's a deception with
lure, trick, or manipulate. So, and then you basically just need to give me the method of deception, which would be, it sounds like your method of deception is you're going to be utilizing ghosts to distract or frighten the Red Crests away from the boat.
Right. And this is to add further detail. As I guess Wicker, I don't know the type of spirits that might be in the area. There may or may not be anybody there. At which point, we may need to actually be the ones to manipulate the Red Crest ourselves. Would you be? I don't like to talk much. You're better at that.
He kind of smiles. He's like, I do talking in a different way, you know that. But
yeah,
let's start with the making of the noise and sneaking past them. If that doesn't work, then we'll try something else.
We always do.
Mm-hmm.
So plan
is deception.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Detail.
And the detail is you are going to use ghosts in the surrounding area to ultimately basically get the distraction to get the Red Crest away from the boat.
Yes.
So now, before we move forward, the next thing you're going to determine is your loadout type, which basically determines what kind of loadout you're going to be taking for your items. There's light load, normal load, and heavy load. So light load is basically, the way it works too is that you don't pick your items beforehand, you just tell me the type of load you have, and any point during the mission, the score, you just say, I pull out this. If you have it in the base, you have up to like 3 items if you're light load, and up to 5 if you're normal, or 6 if you're heavy. The thing is that each load type then determines how suspicious you are. Light load, no one can tell what you have or that you're engaging in a heist. Normal load, people might look at you and see that you have some equipment and might be a little suspicious. Heavy load, you look pretty suspicious. You've got a trench coat with a bunch of implements hanging out of it, right? So seen by normal people or
the bag with the money sign and those ski mask.
And that's the thing too, is that you don't have to worry about like I pick a gun now. You basically say at the time of the action you want to perform or something, like you just go, I take out a gun, and then that's part of the load. You just have to make sure you track how much up to it. I would suggest maybe also looking at your crew, because you have all these extra abilities, right, for being a part of being smugglers. You've got your vehicle, you've got your smuggler's ringing, your smuggler camouflage. So this will help to determine kind of like also your load as well, right, of like how much you want to be carrying in. So basically just tell me what load you'd like to be carrying in for each respective person, and then that's it. And then we'll move to other things for the game. So
I think this seems like a light type of a deal. That's a box that fits in a desk. So it doesn't seem like we're going to be needing that much equipment for this.
So Wicker, you'd be taking light?
I think so, yeah. I think that sounds like a good idea. It doesn't seem like I'm going to need to be, breaking out everything for this. So I'll go light.
Brody, what load are you thinking?
I think light would probably be good in this case because it's more stealth, enough to bring potentially martial weapons if necessary, but not enough to draw suspicion.
Now, I'm using a sheet that says a number next to it, like light says 3, 5 for normal. Is that the amount of the
There's a number of items up to. So basically, you have up to 3 for light load, up to 5 for normal, and up to 6 for heavy. And at any point during the mission, you'd be like, you don't have to pick them now at all, because you could basically be like, a lot of this, strangely enough, is when you were playing as kids going, nuh-uh, I have a shield. But there's rule structures to it, which is beautiful about that. So basically, you don't have to worry about picking about it now. You basically just, during the mission, if there's something that happens, you're like, wait, I've got a gun, like that kind of thing, right? So, all right. So you basically have determined your plan and your detail and your load. So plan is deception, using ghosts as a detail to distract the guards. Wicker's got light, Brody's got light. Now next is what's known as the engagement roll. What I do is this is one of the few times that I actually roll. Because the fun thing about Blades in the Dark is really, I don't really roll that much. I don't even tell you guys really what to roll. You have to be telling me, and I basically have to argue or veto it depending on what you are pitching to me. And then I set basically how difficult something is. So what this is that this is a fortune roll. This determines the status of where you start, of whether it's going to be a desperate situation that you're starting in, a risky situation, or a controlled situation. Basically, these determine kind of like how well the job has started. Like maybe you show up and there's actually 60 guards, right? Or you show up and there's only 2 guards. It's all determined based off this. So the way we determine this is that you get 1 dice right now just for sheer luck. And we're going to be adding a dice pool. Is this operation bold or daring?
And is this the dice roll, or are we just saying what it is?
I'm basically determining if this is bold or daring. So I would say that this is probably, this is a bit bold. You're going to be using ghosts to distract the Red Crest, so I'm going to give you an additional die for that. Is the operation overly complex or contingent on many factors? It is also complex. You're going to be summoning ghosts, so you take 1 die away for that. So, does the plan's detail expose a vulnerability of the target or hit them where the weakest? I would say not. Is the target strongest against this approach, or do they have particular defenses or special prep? So it's the Red Crests, it's the police, so that would take away 1 dice. So you're currently at basically just 1 die right now still. Can any friends or contacts provide aid or insight? Right now, do you guys think of any of your friends that might be able to provide insight? Or any of your contacts that might be able to provide aid or insight? Which of your friends might be able to provide aid or insight on this?
The spirit world is my friends.
All right.
Honestly, I mean, I guess if I do have a Karis,
You have a friend.
I do have a friend, but That's one friend that could possibly be of assistance. I don't know where they're at, but that is the one friend I can think of. Besides you, of course.
Besides me. Brody does not have any contacts outside this job. Dr. Famora, he doesn't think would be any help in this particular situation.
Are there any enemies or rivals interfering in the operation? I'm going to say no for this, so you're fine on that. Are there any other elements to consider? So I'm going to... You know what? We'll just stick with the 2 die then. So I would say that you would get 2 dice to determine your fortune roll. So you would get aid from your friend Karis Wicker. We can roleplay that here in a minute, but for the time being, I'm going to determine the fortune roll. Basically, we are going to be rolling... I'm going to be rolling 2 d6, and that's going to determine, based off the highest dice out of those 2, where you're starting.
Oh, God.
So I'm going to roll 2 d6. Okay, 5. So it's a risky position. That's usually pretty standard. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. So basically, you're taking a chance. It's average, so not terrible, really. So there could be some complications there. So I'm going to say, we'll kind of cut to a scene here that's going to be you, Wicker, talking to Karis. Where would you normally commune with Karis?
Karis, to describe him, I guess, is a possessor ghost. And there is there's a grotto near the docks where Wicker frequents, and I would say that's where a lot of ghosts activity and spirit activity is, as he's able to kind of commune a little bit more around that area, and so he tends to meet Karis over there, although Karis is a spirit and does as they want. But I tend to meet them there.
Okay. So you go down to the docks and you look around. It's kind of like on the underneath of where you see, kind of like in a scene where it's like in a boardwalk with all those large pillars extending down into the sand. There's the ocean rushing in every so often. You see occasionally the scuttlings, which are tiny, tiny crabs that are about running around, and they scuttle away as soon as you get close. And as you get close, you see a bit of a wisp, a blue-greenish wisp in front of you that begins to take a corporeal shape. What does Karis look like to you?
Karis, when they materialize, their form, it's almost as if they're not mirroring me, but taking on a form that I would understand. As the face is kind of blurred. I can't see a lot of detail from the spirit itself. They look like a person who about medium height, medium build, as if they're trying to just look like a standard person to me. If you I guess need a little any sort of direction, he's a little similar to a character that some viewers may not know, or probably do not know of. If you remember Buddy, I would say he's a little muted version of that. Not that's still a bit crotchety, because I constantly ask him for things. But yeah, there's kind of this just a being who helps. And
so this being appears before you, their face blurred, and most of their features just kind of obscured from you. You see the general shape of a human being. When you first had communed with Karis, you weren't even really sure if they were male, female, or what have you, but they were just simply a being that has become friendly to you, and at least amenable to an extent. And as they take form, they look to you, and they kind of cross their arms in front of their chest, and they give you a nod. It's like,
Wicker.
Hello, Karis. It's good to see you as always.
It is fine to see you as well, my friend. What can I do for you?
We've finally found some work.
Finally.
Yes. It's been a while, and we're in need of some yoke, and we found an interesting job that I may need some assistance on.
And what do you require of me, Wicker?
The shiver has been impounded by the Red Crest. We are tasked with retrieving something from the ship. And we want to make sure that it is smooth, as we can sneak in, grab what we need, and leave. And that's where I may need your assistance.
Well, I should tell you, Wicker, that's a very fraught place for the undead to hang about. If you wish to summon those that have passed, the ones you may be bringing about might not be as amenable as myself.
I know how to talk with the dead.
Do you know how to talk with those that followed the Shade Maiden?
You would know that the Shade Maiden was the one spectral spirit that was dancing upon the beach 200 years ago, that drew a lot of people to become obsessed, but also fearful of her. After the mass death of those that basically were in fear of her, putting two and two together, that these are most likely spirits that have passed from the Shade Maiden.
They would be able to listen to me once, I would believe.
Well, I wish you the best. It's still a risky situation.
Without risk, there can be no reward.
True. He gives you another nod, and before he disappears, turns his head back to you and holds up his hand, kind of a finger, and says,
I would say this, dear Wicker. There is something strange upon the waters that has been docked there.
Something strange.
All I can say is that it is unraveling some things, it feels. I'm unable to see exactly what it is, but I would be wary.
before he can elaborate, he begins to kind of fade off as they kind of start to step forward and then fade away. We are now at the docks. We are at where the Shiver is. You see that there are a number of guards there. Appears to be, make it under fortune roll here, 1 second. Okay. You can see that there are at least 10 red crests. There's like at least a couple of them on the boat itself, and a few on the gangplank leading onto the Shiver. So these docks are deep red. You know that these docks are made out of the bloodwood from the briar. So it's, so yeah, you are now at the job. What would you guys like to do?
All right. 10. That's a lot. Is there like a, I'm assuming this ship is docked. We're easily able to recognize the Shiver, as Vivian told us. Does it have like a dock walkway up to like the bridge leading to the boat itself? What it seems to be the most heavily guarded area, or is it pretty even throughout?
You can see that there's a gangplank that goes from the dock area onto the Shiver itself. You are obscured in the night slightly, just simply because, or no, excuse me, did you? I guess we'll say that you're probably approaching during the day, most likely, because I don't think you want to go during nighttime with a bunch of vampires. So yeah, you know that there's a couple of both of them just adamantly shook their heads back and forth. But there are a number of crates that you have kind of hidden behind, and you're able to see from a distance. They're a good fair distance away. They haven't seen you or anything like that. So it really depends on, like, you're going to be using ghosts to try and distract them.
I'm looking into the gear. I see, and let me know if I'm just way off and I'm reading some sort of homebrew thing, but it looks like it's the same sheet. I see like something that says, a pistol, an unusual weapon, climbing gear, arcane implements, spirit bane charm, things like that.
Yep.
There's the one that says a spirit bane charm. Is this something that I would maybe kind of, if I'm going to use this item, just kind of describe how I would be using it, or does it have its own specific use? Like it has its own set use that I wouldn't be able to kind of describe.
So it says here, Spirit Bane Charm is a small arcane trinket that ghosts prefer to avoid. So yeah, you basically would be telling me what you are doing, and then it would determine. Then you would then tell me what role you're basically determining of what you would like to utilize that as.
Okay.
Right. And as a reminder too, like any of the actions that you have there under your respective attributes, like Insight, Prowess, Resolve, really, you can use any of those. You just have to you got to pitch it to me, right? And if you need kind of a refresher of what each one does, I think the sheet does explain kind of what each one does. You just kind of have to just pitch it to me. So
I'm just going over, trying to find where it does kind of say attune, command, sway, things like that.
yeah, you state the goal for your action, and then you choose the action rating, and then I set the position, which is like the difficulty, and the effect level, which like the difficulty of what it's going to be a risky effect, and then if it's going to be a risky standard, which basically means like risk. So like if I said controlled, great. So basically, you got a golden opportunity. This is going to be pretty easy for the mostly fairly easy, and it's going to be a great effect because basically you are going to achieve more than usual. Then you are able to also back out at any point where you're like, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
So.
All right, Brody. I'm going to see if there are any friends about. Now, there is a chance that Brody might be afraid of whoever is summoned.
Yes,
so
indeed.
I'm going to have the charm on me so that it's kind of like if they appear and they see me with the charm, kind of in front of Brody, or kind of dissuading them from going after us when I summon them. So I'm going to attune,
Okay.
and from my spot, you just see Brody's face almost kind of go slack as he
Brody's face or your face?
No, not Brody's face. Wickers. You see Wickers. Brody. I use Brody as my implement to search for ghosts.
Put me down, you
Pick up the
fucker.
dwarf.
Find me the ghosts, Brody. You see Wicker's face kind of goes slack as he focuses and begins to listen, just listening for the whispers, for anybody nearby, as he just kind of reaches out into the ghost field, as I guess they call it.
Okay, so what you're doing here, you're going to be doing an attune. So basically that means you would get 2d6 to roll.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, since you are going to be trying to summon, you're starting from a risky position. You know that this area is filled with ghosts that are those that have died from the Shade Maiden, and you know that there are a number of red crests in the area. Is your purpose to just find a ghost, or are you just trying to summon a ghost to distract? Like, where are you summoning this ghost to distract?
Well, I know there are 10. I just right now I'm searching to see if there is a ghost nearby for me to compel to do something. Because if there isn't, then
Okay. So I'm going to say then that this is going to be a risky position, and this is going to be a standard effect.
I've got the Spirit Bane charm in my hand, and as I'm reaching out into the ghost field, says, "All right, Brody, be ready for anything as always." And then he reaches out to see if he can get a ghost to at least distract the guards who are near the gangplank and the dock, so we can sneak on to the boat.
So you're doing the ghost at the end of the gangplank, basically.
Yep, I'm going to try to see if I can get somebody to... I'm going to give them the instruction to lead them away. As I don't know if the Shade Maiden has maybe people who are her followers maybe sing a song of hers that she would dance to, or if there's something that the Red Crest would recognize of this lore, the mythos of the Shade Maiden, as they would probably recognize and react to.
All right, so go ahead, and that's going to be, you've got 2 in a tune, so you give me 2d6 roll.
Got it. 2d6.
And you're going to be taking the higher of the 2. Okay, so that's a 5. So that means that it was a partial success, which that's good. What that does mean, though, is that you were trying to do something, but there are some consequences. as you are working to summon this ghost, right, is that you are working to summon this ghost, we could say that potentially you're kind of reaching into the respective supernatural field that surrounds Saltvein in its entirety. And as you're doing so, the ghost begins to apparate, but the problem is the ghost begins to apparate not at the end of the gangplank, but right next to you. This is going to also mean that Brody has to make a
I was gonna say, Brody, get behind me.
Brody has to make a resistance roll, basically, to ignore the effect of being frozen in fear or fleeing.
Oh, jeez. He kind of squints his eyes shut. Don't look at it, don't look at it, don't look at it. And how would I roll with this here? So
Sure. So, for a resistance...
Resistance.
Basically, each attribute raises a different type of danger. Resistance rolls always succeed or diminish or deflect the bad result, but the better you roll, the less stress it costs to reduce to get the danger. So basically, you're going to be taking some stress to resist this. So resolve, that's going to be under your, that one attribute, right, where it says resolve, right?
Yes.
So anything under the resolve. So whatever it says resolve, you decide to pick any of the one of those. And the way it works, too, is that for resistance, you get 1 dice for each attribute rating. So you pick out of one of those things that you have in resolve. Do you have anything in resolve?
I do. I have command. So
Okay.
could I argue that he has like a mantra to him, like, shut up, don't listen, shut up, don't... Like he's commanding himself to remain under control? Almost like a mantra?
Sure. So what's going to happen is that you are going to... How many do you have in command? Do you just have 1?
I have 2.
2. Okay. So you are going to be rolling 2 command. So 2 dice, 2d6. And basically, here's how it works, is that you're going to be taking stress, which is basically you're stressing yourself out to basically maintain that control. And what happens is that it's going to be 6 minus the amount that you roll on the highest dice. And that'll determine how much stress you get. So for instance, if you rolled a 4, you would get 2 stress. If you get a critical, like both 6s, then you don't get any stress.
Okay. Fair enough.
So a 1. So the highest of the 2, so roll another one. Because you have 2 in command, right?
Yes.
A 4.
A 4, okay.
So you take 2 stress. So on your character sheet, you would mark 2 stress. So it'll be 2 little pips. I think you should be able to mark it there. Let me see if actually it shows up. Yep, there we go.
Okay. So
All right, so you take 2 stress. So Brody, you see this ghost apparate right in front of you, and you start speaking your mantra personally to yourself, leaning against the crates nearby as Wicker is summoning this ghost here.
he speaks like, stay calm, stay calm. Wicker, I thought that was supposed to be in the compound, not right next to us.
Wicker doesn't respond to Brody at first, as he's still trying to make sure he's adjusting to this unforeseen situation here, and just he's now turned his attention to the ghost there, and is focusing all of his energy onto what is appearing to give it instruction.
So this formless ghost in front of you, much like Karis, doesn't have any kind of distinguishing marks about them. They are just kind of a bluish-green form, energy wisping about in the sea air. They simply are just waiting there, and their shoulders are moving up and down as if they're breathing almost raggedly, as if they're just waiting to see what's going to happen. So...
Okay, and I'm now going to... Whisper has Compel. You can attune to the ghost field to force a nearby ghost to appear and obey a command you give it. You are not supernaturally terrified by a ghost you summon or compel, though your allies may be. And so when it appears and it's waiting for me, I want to make sure that I make it the command succinct. And he to the ghost. Spirit, lead the red crest away.
Okay. You've done the attune, so you've summoned it, and you are compelling it. So It gives you a nod and begins to turn around. It moves. It's still walking, like it's moving. It goes through the crates and begins to walk. And it's still walking. It's starting to walk not on the gangplank. It's just walking in midair. Just respective like rings of light going underneath its feet as it begins to walk just closer and closer to the gangplank. So there are at least 4 red crests that are on the gangplank. And as they begin to see this ghost approach, you see kind of them, they're leaning down, they're reaching towards their weapons at their sides as they begin to pull them out as they, some of them start to back away slightly as this ghost continues to approach them. Thing is that you're saying to lead them away, right?
Yes.
So it begins to start going closer, kind of turning to the side. Now, still mid-air, moving to the side and basically just starting to move on further down to the gangplank, closer down to the dock. And we'll say that 4 of the guards are kind of just hesitantly just going down and just kind of trying to corral this ghost from moving any further towards the ship or even further away. So there's no more guards on the gangplank.
Quickly, we must move.
Right. God, that's creepy. Starts following you.
So there is something you guys can do, is that there is an action for teamwork where you can do a group action, which is leading, one of you can lead a group action. So what that means is that you can have multiple members of the team tackle the problem together. So each involved player makes an action roll using the same action, and the team counts the single best result as the overall effort for everyone that rolled. However, the character leading the group takes 1 stress for each player that rolls at least a 1 to 3 as their best result. So you're trying to get onto the gangplank, right? So you're just trying to.
Yep. Get on the ship and get to the captain's quarters.
So I would say that's gonna still determine. There's still gonna be a roll. Because Wicker, are you guys gonna do a group action, or are you gonna individually try to get on here?
Let's do it
I'd say
together.
group.
Yeah.
Okay. So who would be leading the group action then?
Me?
Brody. Yes.
Brody? All right.
Yes. Yep.
Sounds like fun.
Okay. So what are you gonna be doing here? What action are you leading?
Just to clarify, this would be something under like the insider prowess subsections?
Potentially, yes. So you can use whatever action you'd like, you just have to tell me, but most likely based on the description for each respective action. Like, for instance, and I'm not trying to sway you, haha, in any particular way, but the prowl action is you traverse skillfully and quietly. But again, I'm not telling you to roll prowl. You can use whatever you like.
I feel like prowl
Gotcha.
would probably be the option. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. I don't have any dots in prowl, though.
Oh, yeah. So for that, if you were to do that,
Brody's not what I would consider a stealthy.
if you ever need to roll but have 0 or negative dice, you still roll 2 dice, but you take the lowest result.
Okay.
Well, if then we could do, I do have prowl, so I could do an individual action to get there. But I don't. Yeah, I want to make sure that you're there, but I
want you to be there, but I don't want you to fuck it up for me. Okay.
No, I want to make sure that we do this right. Let's. I don't know. I don't want to just like leave you behind and be like, oh, I can prowl. Bye.
No, I got you, but it does make sense. He's not exactly stealthy, so it probably would make sense that he'd trail behind slightly. So maybe individual to at least one of us makes it.
Because if we did, since I do have 1 in prowl and Brody has 0, would that even cancel it out?
So no, so Brody would still take the lowest of the 2 dice that they'd have to roll because they don't have anything in prowl. But the thing is that basically means that if they roll a 1 to 3 as their best result, it's just you take the stress. But you count the single best result out of everybody. So if you succeed, you still succeed. But if Brody rolls a 1 to 3, you still take 1 stress. The other thing to remember too is that there is a mechanic called flashbacks. So flashbacks are basically a way of where, like, say you're in a situation, like obviously you can't be doing something like time travel, right? Where the person pulls a gun on you. It's like, I killed them the day before. That doesn't work that way. But you can say, like, if you can argue well enough of like, I went into the armory and I made sure that all the bullets were actually gone, so it's just blanks, right? That also would determine a few other rolls, potentially, but that does allow you to basically pay stress to be able to do a flashback if, like, say you're going, I want to do a flashback for this. So like when an operation is underway, you can invoke a flashback to roll for an action in the past that impacts your current situation. And then I set what the stress count is, depending on how complex the action is. I know I'm throwing a lot at you guys. But
Don't mind the smoke billowing out of our ears as we figure this out. Well, so the difference is if we do combined and he leads with the higher prowl, we have a better chance of succeeding. However, he also has a better chance of taking stress because my stats are crap.
Right, because you take your rolls would be you take the lowest out of the 2 dice you have because you don't have anything in prowl.
Got it.
Right. If you're determining to use prowl, again, whoever's leading the group action is determining what's being used for that. So.
Right, because I'm looking at the actions for sneaking onto the shiver. Like prowl sounds, because we're not going to be surveying, skirmishing, studying. There's nobody to consort with. I'd be okay with tanking any stress.
Okay, so both of you then give me your prowl rolls. So, Wicker, you roll 1d6, and then Brody, you roll 2d6, and you take the lowest out of the 2. Wicker.
No.
Okay, so
well,
for the
this is great.
For the audience, Wicker rolled a 1, and Brody rolled a 2.
Oh, we're just a pair, aren't we?
Now here's the thing: is that always remember this about Blades in the Dark. Failure is actually good sometimes because that does mean that you get XP for certain things when you level up because of certain actions you take. That's why they say play your character like driving a stolen car, because that's how you get XP for your crew and your character. You just want to be making these rolls. So, so basically what happened is that, so you're going to take 1 stress because that was a failure, Wicker, so you take 1 stress, so just go ahead and notch that on your character sheet. This was a distinctive failure, though, so that does mean this is a bad kind. Things go poorly. You probably didn't achieve your goal, and you suffer complications too. You begin running up the gangplank, the pair of you, and as you're running up the gangplank, you realize that what has happened is that the ghost then begins to clutch at its head. And as it begins to clutch at its head, it begins to have like a shifting motion where its head is moving to the left really quickly, then to the right, and then there's like 2 heads that are kind of forming off of each other and being connected by a strand of ectoplasm. And then it begins to open a non-existent mouth, but then as it opens its mouth, you can see that there is teeth that are being stretched, much like in the Matrix, like the first one with like kind of the strands of skin kind of being pulled. And it begins to scream. And as it screams, the guards that are on basically begin to charge down the gangplank. And then they see the pair of you there.
Oh boy. What do we do?